They lied to you. A perfect budget won't save you when a dying dog, a failing body, and a shattered car violently obliterate your life in just 12 days. Forget the sugar-coated finance advice. Stay until the end, because surviving this bloody wreckage requires breaking every rule. Have you ever stared blankly at the ceiling at 3 in the morning, feeling the sheer, suffocating physical weight of a number crushing your chest? Listen closely to the silence, because you will not find the usual shiny, upward-trending graphs here. The financial textbooks gleaming on bookstore shelves are selling you a beautifully packaged, toxic lie. They promise that if you just follow the spreadsheet, if you just try a fraction harder, the debt will magically evaporate into thin air. But what happens when the math is absolutely perfect, yet your life decides to shatter into a million unpredictable pieces? Today, we are going completely off script. We are stripping away the delusional positivity of internet finance gurus to dissect a bloody, bruised, and agonizing month of March. If you came here looking for a sugar-coated success story or a motivational quote, you need to log off right now. But if you are ready to face the terrifying, raw reality of financial survival, stay exactly where you are. This is where the illusion ends. At Money Glow Up 02 welcomes you to the trenches. Before we step into this violent storm together, please take a brief moment to hit that subscribe button. Your support is the very pulse that keeps this channel alive and empowers me to bring you more of these unfiltered, hard-hitting truths. Now, let us look at the wreckage of Jay's reality. Debt repayment is never a straight green line marching triumphantly across a screen. It is a series of jagged, sweat-soaked, tear-stained zigzags that leave you gasping for air. You sit there on the first of the month, feeling like an absolute mastermind, sketching out a flawless budget where every single cent has a name. You build this magnificent sandcastle of financial discipline. And then, without a whisper of warning, the 5th day arrives. A sudden fever spikes in the middle of the night. Your beloved dog collapses, forcing a desperate emergency dash to the vet. The reliable old car abruptly dies right in the middle of a busy intersection. The profound helplessness of that moment rips the soul right out of your body as your perfect sandcastle is obliterated by a towering, merciless tidal wave. We are sitting here today sifting through Jay's disastrous march, not to audit her perceived failures or point accusatory fingers, but to understand the profound humanity embedded in personal finance. The experts scream about emergency funds, but no textbook teaches you how to maintain stoic discipline while watching a life you love hang in the balance. Jay entered this month with a failing immune system, a physically exhausted body, and a cascade of catastrophic bills raining from the sky. This is the naked, ugly truth. You cannot control when the hurricane makes landfall. When you are carrying tens of thousands of pounds of debt, waking up every morning is an active fight for survival. Stumbling in the dark amidst this wreckage is not a failure. It is an agonizing, unavoidable, and absolutely mandatory chapter on the journey to freedom. To truly comprehend the sheer weight of this wreckage Jay found herself buried under, we must first examine the brittle foundation she tried to build upon, the cruel illusion of payday. For someone drowning in 5-figure debt, the arrival of a paycheck is not a moment of celebration. It is a brief, hollow sigh of relief immediately followed by a tightening in the chest. Jay's income is not a gift. It is the direct result of exhausted mornings, caffeine-fueled afternoons, and a body pushed to the absolute brink of its physical limits. When that direct deposit finally hits the bank account, there is a 30-second window where the numbers look substantial, whispering a lie that maybe, just maybe, this month will be different. But the modern economy is a ruthless machine designed to extract every drop of that hard-earned capital before you can even catch your breath. We are conditioned to believe that out-earning our stupidity is the ultimate fix. But what happens when you are not stupid, just severely undercompensated for the reality of the world you inhabit? Jay scrutinized her incoming funds with the precision of a surgeon, fully aware that her earnings were already spoken for by ghosts of the past and the demands of the present. Her take-home pay reflects hours of her finite life traded for currency that is rapidly losing its purchasing power. It is profoundly demoralizing to look at a paycheck and realize it is a mere layover, a temporary visitor in your account that will pack its bags and leave before the weekend is over. This is the psychological warfare of the working-class debtor. You are bleeding out energy in the workplace only to bring home a bandage that is far too small for the wound. As Jay mapped out her incoming dollars for March, she knew the margins were impossibly thin, setting the stage for a high-stakes balancing act that would require absolute perfection to survive. She was walking a tightrope without a net, gripping a tiny umbrella in the face of an impending typhoon. Yet that fleeting illusion of a replenished bank account is instantly shattered the moment the non-negotiable costs of merely staying alive come calling. We need to talk about the suffocating grip of fixed expenses, the baseline ransom you are forced to pay just to keep a roof over your head and the lights from going dark. Jay did not blow her money on designer bags, lavish vacations, or the metaphorical avocado toast that out-of-touch pundits love to weaponize against the struggling working class. Her fixed expenses are stripped down to the bare, agonizing bone. Rent took an immediate, aggressive bite out of her balance, an exorbitant fee for a modest space that provides shelter but no peace of mind. Then came the utilities, the basic groceries, and the health insurance premiums that feel increasingly like extortion. Sitting at her kitchen table, bathed in the harsh glow of her laptop screen, Jay watched scheduled automatic transfers systematically drain her lifeblood. This is the silent tragedy of personal finance that spreadsheets fail to capture. The profound despair of doing absolutely everything right, cutting every conceivable corner, and still watching 70% of your income vanish into the void of basic survival. You cannot budget your way out of a systemic housing crisis, and you cannot cancel your need for food and water. The gurus will tell you to move, to get a roommate, to live on rice and beans until you are physically sick, ignoring the mental decay that accompanies perpetual deprivation. Jay's fixed expenses in March were a heavy iron chain, anchoring her to a reality where her primary job was simply funding her own existence. There was no fat left to trim, no subscriptions left to cancel, and no hidden savings left to uncover. She had optimized her life into a state of sterile, joyless efficiency. The baseline was set, rigid and unforgiving, leaving a terrifyingly minuscule sliver of money left over to fight the mountainous debt that loomed in the background. With her financial margins already stretched to the point of tearing by those baseline costs, the universe decided to test exactly how much pressure Jay's fragile ecosystem could withstand. This brings us back to the hurricane of variable and emergency expenses that violently made landfall in the second week of March. It started with her own body giving out. When you operate in a state of chronic stress, your immune system eventually surrenders, and Jay was hit with a relentless fever that demanded urgent medical care. The co-pays, the prescription antibiotics, and the agonizing loss of hourly wages created the first terrifying crack in the dam. But the universe is rarely satisfied with a single blow. 2 days later, her dog, her sole source of unconditional comfort in a deeply isolating world, collapsed. Standing in the sterile, fluorescent-lit waiting room of the emergency vet, Jay was handed a clipboard with an estimate that felt like a physical punch to the throat. This is the moment where financial theory completely breaks down. No human being with a beating heart looks at a beloved, suffering companion and chooses their debt snowball over a life. Jay handed over her credit card, swallowing bile and tears as she watched a massive balance reignite on the very account she had spent 6 agonizing months trying to pay off. The shame that washed over her was toxic and entirely misplaced, a byproduct of a society that equates financial perfection with moral virtue. And as if this psychological torment were not enough, the final nail in the coffin arrived when her ancient car sputtered and died in moving traffic. Towing fees, a destroyed alternator, labor costs. In the span of 12 days, Jay's meticulously crafted March budget was not just broken, it was ground into dust and scattered to the wind. The emergency fund was obliterated in a matter of hours, leaving her exposed, vulnerable, and relying on plastic just to keep her world from completely caving in. She was forced to navigate the crushing realization that sometimes, despite your fiercest efforts, you end up moving backward. The debt was growing again, and the emotional toll of that regression was far heavier than the financial one. When the dust finally settled on this month of unmitigated disasters, Jay was left staring at a debt balance that felt like a cruel mockery of her intense suffering. As March drew to a close, the final reconciliation of her accounts was a bloody, traumatic scene. She had barely made a dent in the principal. In fact, due to the vet and the car, her overall liabilities had actually increased. If you look at this through the sterile lens of a traditional financial audit, March was an abject failure. But this is exactly where we kill the guru narrative and unearth true, raw human resilience. Jay did not fail, she survived. Paying just the minimums during a month from hell is not a defeat. It is a profound victory of endurance. She kept her dog alive. She maintained her employment. She weathered a storm that would have completely broken a lesser spirit. The numbers on the screen do not define her worth, nor do they capture the immense grit required to simply wake up and face April after being so ruthlessly beaten down. We must stop internalizing unexpected tragedies as personal financial failures. Debt repayment is not a sprint, and it is certainly not a steady climb. It is a brutal, lifelong war fought in muddy trenches. Jay's spreadsheet may be broken, her emergency fund may be empty, and her heart may be heavy, but her resolve remains unbroken. She will wake up tomorrow, patch the holes in her armor, and begin the agonizing climb all over again. This is the unglamorous, painful, and beautiful reality of fighting for your freedom. Do not let a bad month convince you that the war is lost. We rebuild, we breathe, and we keep moving forward. Jay's grueling journey through March serves as a profound testament to the unspoken realities of the modern working-class struggle. Her story dismantles the toxic myth that financial hardship is simply the result of poor choices or a lack of personal discipline. We watched her navigate the cruel illusion of a paycheck that vanishes before it can even be enjoyed, swallowed whole by the suffocating baseline costs of merely existing in today's unforgiving economy. When life struck with a catastrophic sequence of emergencies, a failing body, a dying pet, and a broken vehicle, Jay's meticulously planned budget was pulverized, forcing her backward into the very debt she had fought so desperately to escape. Yet, in the rubble of her devastated finances, a powerful truth emerges. Survival is not a failure. Traditional financial advice would quickly label her month a disaster. But looking beyond the sterile numbers, reveals an undeniable triumph of the human spirit. She endured. She cared for her beloved companion, and she kept her life intact against impossible odds. Jay's experience reminds us that the path to financial freedom is not a clean, upward trajectory, but a brutal, unpredictable war. Her unbroken resolve in the face of absolute despair is the ultimate victory, proving that our worth is never defined by a bank balance, but by our courage to wake up, rebuild, and keep fighting the very next day. Financial perfection is a dangerous illusion, and unexpected setbacks are not moral failures. Society and financial gurus often equate debt with a lack of discipline, completely ignoring the chaotic reality of human existence. When unavoidable emergencies strike, choosing survival, health, and compassion over a spreadsheet is not a defeat. It is the very definition of resilience. Your worth is not determined by your debt-to-income ratio, but by your grit and your ability to weather life's harshest storms without losing your humanity. Practice financial forgiveness. When a crisis forces you to wipe out your savings or rely on a credit card, do not punish yourself with toxic guilt. If you had to use debt to keep your family, your pets, or yourself safe, you made the right choice. Separate your self-worth from your net worth. Stop looking at your bank account as a scorecard for your character. You are doing the best you can in a deeply flawed economic system. Give yourself the grace you would offer a friend. Redefine victory. Learn to celebrate the quiet wins of mere survival. Paying just the minimums during a brutal month, keeping a roof over your head, and protecting your mental peace are massive accomplishments. When the storm passes, patch your armor, adjust your timeline, and simply refuse to quit. What is one unexpected financial storm you have successfully weathered in your own life? And what gave you the strength to keep pushing forward? Please take a moment to share your story in the comments below. Your perspective might be exactly what someone else in our community needs to read today to find their own hope. If you found value in this video and want to support our work, please hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us and gives us the motivation to keep creating deep, meaningful content for you.